Wrong caller. All right. Today we are going to be talking to you guys. It's a continuation series. My name is John with BlueMatch, Stephen Noble with BlueMatch. So for those of you that don't know, I am one of the co-founders of BlueMatch. Steve heads up our operations and does a lot of the actual transactions on a day-to-day basis. Today we're going to continue our series. We're going to be talking about things that can come up during a transaction that can cost you some serious money. And we have a specific scenario today that actually recently happened with one of our clients. It was about to cost them probably an additional $800, $1,200.
$1,200.
It wasn't something that anyone missed or did. This was actually something that an agent snuck into a contract on the fourth negotiation in a very sneaky kind of way. Did everything completely legal, but did it in a very sneaky way. We actually saw that this agent bragged about how he can take advantage of other agents that may not know what they're doing on a social media page. Very interesting situation we had. Deal fell through, but today we're going to talk about some of these weird little things that can happen that could potentially cost you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. We'll talk to you about how Steve was able to catch this and how you can potentially protect yourself from the same type of issues. So I'm going to let Steve explain it first, but just to give you guys a little bit of background, the typical real estate contract is how many pages, Steve?
Around 20 pages.
20 pages. So when somebody is sending over a contract, and usually, say for instance, it's a counter, there are traditionally, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, things that stay pretty standard and line items that people negotiate. Now, there are all sorts of things on these contracts that people can negotiate. And so by taking advantage of particular line items or during the counter process, you can potentially put yourself into some harm. So I'm going to give you a little bit, turn it over to Steve. He's going to tell you exactly what happened, go through the scenario and how we were able to catch it.
So it's a basic, moral of the story is just to pay attention to the contract and review every detail with a fine-tooth comb. Because there are boxes that can be checked on a contract, which you may overlook, and that checking that box or unchecking that box could be the difference at closing between paying a fee of $100 or paying a fee of $500. So being very conscious throughout the whole contract process to review everything in very fine detail. This particular situation, you generally receive a contract, which is standard in most states, approximately 20 pages. And like John suggests, there's different areas where you negotiate a few different boxes. You check for who pays for what aspect of the closing, and a few clauses with regards to inspection and appraisal. Generally pretty standard and pretty clear. Our buyer agent submitted this offer to us, and we reviewed it. Everything looked fine, just as you would with a normal contract. And we reviewed that again with our sellers and answered questions that they may have had. Our seller decided to counter that offer, and a counter proposal is a single-page document, so very clear, very simple. And you're only writing the terms in which you're changing. Over the course of a 3-day period, it was very challenging negotiating with this particular buyer agent, and it was very lacking response. So we would reach out and propose a counter. It's nice to do it verbally first. Once you agree verbally, then you send over the actual document. We didn't get any response the first time, so we sent a written counter proposal, 1-page document with a single clause written on that and a price. He then sent back a new contract to us. So now I have to review a full 20-page document. This happened 3 times. Finally, after us discussing a third counter proposal, I wrote a single document, the counter proposal, with 1 clause written on it, and sent that to the buyer agent. Again, he sent back a full contract to us. He copied and pasted my clause from the counter proposal, and he did add that to his contract as we agreed. The first 17 pages, I'm reviewing the contract, the 4th contract that he'd sent, and all of the terms and conditions were exactly the same. I got down to around page 18, and regarding the homeowner association payments, what had been previously checked on the first 3 contracts he sent had now changed, and he checked some other boxes in favour of his buyers. So instead of his buyers paying those fees of $600 as he had initially alerted to, he has now changed that so our sellers are having to pay that. So a net effect is $1,200. I looked at this, I made a phone call, I called him out on this, and he apologised as it being a genuine mistake. Whether it was or not, it was a very unique situation. And subsequently, because of the negotiation process had been so challenging, our sellers decided to decline that offer, and we've subsequently moved on. So the moral of the story is ensuring that you look at every detail possible in every aspect of the contract. Whether a box is checked or unchecked, it may cost you $100, it may cost you $10,000. It's just being very cautious and having, I guess, the right advice and the right people to support you through that process is also integral to successful negotiation.
Now remember, especially if you're an agent or even for sale by owner. So typically what happens is when you send over it's kind of fishy if you send over a counter proposal that's a single document to sign, and then they reply with a full document. That means they're trying to do something in that document that's going to benefit the party they're representing. It's not illegal, and it's one of those things that should be a red flag, and that should be an indication of how that process is going to be, because they're setting the tempo to say, hey, this is how it's going to be like to work with me. So that should be your very first red flag, is that if they deviate away from being transparent and fair, because that's what you want in a situation, right? The one thing that I always feel is rough with real estate is that one side doesn't have to take advantage of the other side. You can have 2 good sides and everybody come to a happy medium. An agent shouldn't have to feel like he's winning or taking advantage of somebody to make a transaction go smoothly. There are ways to make it fair for everybody, and that's really what the objective should be. Fair for the buyer, fair for the seller. Have 2 people, mitigate that for each party. Now, again, be really wary when you see these things out of the blue. If you send a counter proposal, if you're an agent, if you're for sale by owner, and that you get a full page contract back, something was changed in there, and you got to go through every single thing. And then you have to ask yourself, is this somebody I really want to be negotiating with? Because it shows a little bit of what the extent that they're willing to go to try to get an edge over you, and for what, a couple $100 or a few $100, or bragging rights or whatever it might be. So we just want to help you guys find some great ways to save money in transaction. These are things that we come across on a daily basis. Remember, it's not about saving money in commissions, even though that's what BlueMatch helps people do. It's about netting more money at the end of the day. There can be found money all the way through transactions, and we're here to make you aware of that. So thanks again. It's Steve. My name is John. Feel free to email us anytime. Our contact information is below in this video. We'll be happy to answer any questions. You don't have to even be a client of ours. If you just have random questions, we'd be more than happy to assist you with those. Thanks again, and feel free to check us out on our blog at BlueMatch.com, or we'll talk to you guys in the future. Thanks. Have a great day.
Cheers, guys.